To make switching to the new Boost Mobile risk-free, we're offering a 30-day money-back guarantee.
So why wouldn't you switch from Verizon or T-Mobile?
Because you have nothing to lose. Boost Mobile is offering a 30-day money-back guarantee.
No, I asked why wouldn't you switch from Verizon or T-Mobile?
Oh.
Wouldn't.
Because you love wasting money as a way to punish yourself because your mother never showed you enough love as a child?
Whoa. Easy there.
Yeah.
Applies to online activations. Requires port in and auto pay. Customers activating in stores may be charged non-refundable activation fees.
Holiday shopping is here, and Amazon Live has got you covered. Shop for the perfect gift from the comfort of your home with Amazon Live's shoppable video experience. Discover the hottest products from influencers and shop while you watch. This season, join Candy Burris from Real Housewives in her holiday Amazon Live series, Generation Face Off, where Candy, her mom, Mama Joyce, and daughter Riley share their favorite stocking stuffers and go-to gifts across fashion, beauty, and more. Watch and shop new episodes of Candy's series Generation Face Off now by going to amazon.com/candylive. That's amazon.com/candylive. For a limited time, use promo code CANDYLIVE for $5 off an eligible product featured on the first episode of the series. That's KANDILIVE. Promotion expires on December 25th, 2024. Limited supply of goods. Terms and conditions apply. For full promotion terms and conditions, go to amazon.com/candyterms.
Hello and welcome to mini episode number 402 of Real Life Ghost Stories. And I have 3 spooky stories for you today, and the last story comes from October the 8th, 2024. And story number 1 comes from Theresa. I've had a lifetime of paranormal experiences, starting when I was first verbal and launched into my creepy kid era. My mom reports I witnessed things in our 1920s house, and I was also able to accurately predict who was about to call on our 1970s rotary phone before it rang. I don't remember those episodes, but I still firmly swear something possibly elemental and definitely not friendly lurked in our terrifying basement. You know, the kind where the only light bulb is in the centre of the room with a chain, and as a kid, you have to run through the darkness and leap to grab it and illuminate the room, knowing all along something is about to grab your ankles. I'm 49, and I still have nightmares about that basement. While I've had a host of experiences throughout my life, I'll highlight 2 that I typically haul out during conversations with friends when things turn towards spooky topics. The first happened in my early 20s, when I was out with several friends shopping in southeast Portland, in a rather old part of town. We had popped into a popular shop on Hawthorne Street that sold antiques, jewellery, and a lot of imported items from around the world, especially Asia. The top floor was bright and sunny and lit with big windows, but wide steps led down into the basement of the shop, where the larger furniture pieces are kept. The place gave me major vibes as soon as I walked downstairs, but at first I attributed it to being in a windowless basement that was absolutely crammed with cabinets and tables and statues. It was fascinating to poke around different corners and enjoy all the beautiful carved pieces, and I became separated from my 2 friends as we each wandered through the space. But the further back I went, the more unsettling the place felt, until I finally got to a spot where I absolutely could not go further. Every single part of my body felt sheer panic, and my brain was screaming, "Get out!" And although I saw and heard nothing, some part of me knew there was something huge and dangerous and impossible to ignore. I scuttled out from the corner, feeling like I was being pursued. And although I didn't want my friends to think I was crazy, I just said very quickly and very urgently, "We need to go now." To their credit, they both turned and bolted up the stairs with me, and then we stood on the ground floor and I was able to explain what I felt. They both believed me immediately, even though they hadn't experienced the feeling. It was so powerful that I went over to the clerk and asked her if any of the employees had ever experienced anything paranormal in the place. She immediately confirmed that items had been moved around in the shop and several employees felt that it was haunted, and also said that a full-bodied apparition had been spotted in the dressing room of the thrift shop that shared a wall with their space. That was enough to solidify my feelings, and I swore I would never return. I'm fine with hauntings, but the overwhelming feeling of dread and anger was not something I wanted to encounter again. One of my friends later told me she returned to the shop with a cousin and her husband who had come to visit, and she purposefully did not mention my previous experience to her family members. The cousin's husband went down to the basement and had a very similar experience to mine, but he actually saw something as well, which he reported as a hunched figure with long, dark hair. He also made a quick exit, and my friend then told him what I had experienced in the basement. I have often wondered if the entity was attached to one of the pieces of antique furniture rather than the building itself. I've never gone back, but my husband was walking by the shop recently on a visit to Portland and reported that the owners have closed off the basement to shoppers and labelled it employees only, and I can't help but wonder if that decision was related. My second story takes place in Spain in 2018. My family took a vacation to Spain for the first time, and we decided to spend part of the trip in Granada so that we could see the Alhambra and explore the beauty and architecture. We rented an Airbnb in the Albaicin neighbourhood of Granada, which is the historic Moorish quarter of the city, ancient and gorgeous with whitewashed buildings and narrow alleyways. Although we were within steps of a 16th century church built on a former mosque dating back even further, the flat we were staying in had been updated completely inside, including a state-of-the-art digital cooling system, which kept the place cool even though it was 104 degrees Fahrenheit outside, which is 40 degrees Celsius. The rooftop patio where we ate dinner overlooked the Alhambra, and it was absolutely fantastic. The owner stopped by and gave us orange cake he had baked himself, and we felt totally at home. The first night was peaceful. Traffic was almost non-existent in the narrow alley outside our bedroom window, and the walls were thick. The second day of our visit, we made our way to the Alhambra to spend hours exploring its beauty, followed by an amazing dinner. That night, tired from all the walking and exploring, we went to sleep pretty quickly. Our bedroom was right next to the kids' bedroom, and we kept both doors open so that I could hear them if they needed me. My son was 6 at the time, and my stepdaughter was almost 9, and they were both really good travellers and good sleepers as well. In the middle of the night, I woke up and saw a flashing blue light that disoriented me. At first, I thought it was perhaps from a police car silently travelling down the alley, but quickly realised that it was coming from inside the house and down the hallway. I thought it was some sort of alert from the elaborate digital setup the owner had installed, so I got up to make sure nothing needed seeing to. I followed the flashing light and eventually realised that my son's toothbrush, which has a blue light on a timer so he knew how long to brush, had gone off. It was odd because normally you have to smack the toothbrush hard on the counter to make the light go off, and then it just flashes until the timer stops and goes out. I waited for the light to stop flashing, and then I started smacking and waving the thing to see if it would go off again on its own, and nothing. I finally smacked it extremely hard on the counter, and there it went. I couldn't figure out how it had gone off on its own, but wondered if maybe the battery was wearing down. I finally set the thing down and went back to bed. I hadn't been in bed long and was laying on my back, directly facing the open door of our bedroom, when I heard the distinct sounds of small, bare footsteps on the tiled floor. The sounds were extremely clear, and I knew instantly what I was hearing. A child walking across the floor. I figured that my son had woken up and was coming to see me, maybe because of a bad dream or something, so I waited for him to come into the room. Sure enough, I saw a small, kid-shaped, dark shadow walk into the room and come over to my side of the bed. It was extremely dark in the room, but there was a little light coming in from the windows, so I could just make out the shape. I started to turn my body towards what I thought was my son to ask him what was wrong, and several things happened very quickly. I realised I could not move my body but felt held to the bed. I also realised that whatever was standing next to my bed was not my son, and at the same time I realised that the room had become incredibly cold, which was odd because of the sophisticated cooling system in the apartment and the fact that outside it was still extremely warm even at night. I started struggling to move, but felt pinned down as if something were holding me to the bed by my arms. The black shadow loomed over but did not appear to be holding me. Instead, I just sensed that it was holding me somehow by force. I tried to struggle and could not. So I thought back to ways that I'd read to protect myself from harm, and internally I visualized a huge glowing white light filling my body and surrounding me. Once I visualized that glowing, powerful light, I mentally shouted, "Get the fuck off of me," as loudly as I mentally could in my loudest angry mom voice. Instantly the shadow disappeared. I could move, and suddenly the room became much lighter, as if a gloom had been lifted. I sat up hard, panting, and my husband woke up at that moment and said, "Why is it so cold in here?" I immediately told him what had happened, and he believed me, thankfully. I checked on the kids, they were fine, and finally went back to bed and was able to go to sleep not long after, because the oppressive, scary feelings had completely disappeared. I know elements of this might appear to be sleep paralysis, but I'm not sure, especially because part of the experience was the huge temperature shift that my husband immediately experienced as well. I also wonder if the electric toothbrush going off by itself, it's never happened before or since, was a precursor to the events, as I've often read about spirits drawing energy from flashlights, etc. That could be me just trying to prove the experience, but I'm not sure. Regardless, the next morning when we went to the local market, I bought one of those blue amulets that protect you against the evil eye, and I set it next to my bed. And that night I had no further problems. I talked to the landlord, and while he said he hadn't heard of any odd occurrences from guests, he reiterated that in a place that old, he wasn't surprised that something might be passing through. We've recently moved into a 150-year-old Victorian house, and so far, it seems spirit-free. But I did do a pretty thorough cleansing before we moved in, and you never know what might turn up, so I'll keep you posted. Please do, Theresa. I want to know if your little paranormal beacon brings out some of the ghosts from your super old house. And to go back to the beginning of your story, like the way you described running through the basement in the darkness, leaping to grab the chain of the light to illuminate the room, like that's such a universal experience. I remember turning the light off in my bedroom and just diving head first onto the bed, for fear that something was going to grab you, that some hands were going to come out from under the bed and grab hold of your ankles. That is, however, fundamentally less terrifying than the idea that there is some sort of possible elemental thing in your basement that is not remotely friendly and terrifying you when you are a child. And how interesting that you had that experience in the shop in Portland. Like, I would love to know what particular piece of furniture was it that made you feel this way, or was it just something that was in the building? Was it nothing to do with the furniture and cabinets and trinkets that were already there? And how good is that intuitive feeling that is like, get out of this place, you are not safe? It is so important to listen to that feeling. And the fact that, first of all, the employee in the building was like, yeah, it's haunted as shit, and then later a cousin's husband went down to the basement and saw a hunched figure with long dark hair. Sorry, if you're seeing a hunched figure with long dark hair, that thing is up to no good. And I do feel like that story and the subsequent validation is just a testament to always trust your instincts, trust your intuition, and that all of your friends, Theresa, should trust your instincts too. And that place in Granada sounds absolutely incredible. Like, what a beautiful, amazing place. Less amazing, however, is the little child ghost that is knocking around. And I see what you're saying about spirits and entities taking energy from electrical items, but I do also wonder if sometimes it's just about attention. It's about getting somebody's attention and trying to get somebody in the house to take notice of you, especially if this thing was a child. And also, you know, you're listening to this story and I was listening and thinking, oh, this does sound like sleep paralysis. However, I'm not sure that I've had a sleep paralysis story where there is a palpable change in temperature that somebody else in the room also feels and recognizes. That really is terrifying. And combined with, you know, you actually physically heard the footsteps coming down the hallway and watched the shadow enter the room, you know, and then for your husband to wake up and go, what the fuck, why is it so cold? That is terrifying. Good job on you going to get those blue amulets. I know exactly the ones that you mean, that protect you against the evil eye. Probably the best thing you could have done in that situation. Today's episode is brought to you by Uncommon Goods. Spark something uncommon this holiday season with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. So look, I'm trying to be super organised with my gift shopping this year. And if you haven't finished your holiday shopping yet, don't panic. Uncommon Goods is a great source for incredible original gifts. So if you want to get somebody gifts that make them go, that is exactly what I wanted, then you can find something truly original at uncommongoods.com. One of my favourite things on Uncommon Goods at the moment is their homeware section. I relatively recently moved house and they have so much housewarming gifts, serveware. There are hand-blown glass olive oil pourers. Now, if that does not scream sophistication and maturity, then I don't know what does. And when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you are supporting artists and small independent businesses. Many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches, so shop now before they sell out this holiday season. And my personal favourite thing about shopping at Uncommon Goods, every purchase you make, they give back $1 to a non-profit partner of your choice, and they've donated more than $3 million to date. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/ghoststories. That's uncommongoods.com/ghoststories for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods. We're all out of the ordinary.
To get people excited about Boost Mobile's new nationwide 5G network, we're offering unlimited talk, text, and data for $25 a month.
Forever.
Even if you have a baby.
Even if your baby has a baby.
Even if you grow old and wrinkly and you start repeating yourself.
Even if you start repeating yourself.
Even if you're on your deathbed and you need to make one last call.
Or text.
Right, or text the long-lost son you abandoned at birth.
You'll still get unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month with Boost Mobile.
Forever!
After 30 gigabytes, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Unlimited plan.
Forever.
To everyone else, this is a task. But to you, this is opportunity.
Switch to Boost Mobile and get the Coach Prime Moto G5G for $29.99 at boostmobile.com. The Boost Mobile network, together with our roaming partners, covers 99% of the U.S. population. Moto G5G for $29.99 when you switch with a new Unlimited Plus or Unlimited Premium plan activation. Online only. Taxes extra. All prices, fees, features, functionality, and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit boostmobile.com for details.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Hey, it's Mark Marin from WTF here to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. And I'm sure the reason you're listening to this podcast right now is because you chose it. Well, choose Progressive's Name Your Price tool, and you could find insurance options that fit your budget, so you can pick the best one for your situation. Who doesn't like choice? Try it at Progressive.com. And now, some legal info. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
And story number 2 comes from Natalie. I was 13, on my laptop in the living room of the apartment. The front door was directly behind me. I had my headphones on and was typically blasting them at 99 when I heard 3 loud, clear knocks at the front door. I initially assumed it was my cousin Edgar, because he lived in a separate apartment building adjacent to mine. When I went to open the door, nobody was there. Not in the lobby, not under the stairs, I was on the first floor, not upstairs, not outside. Our dog Jasper, an old Pomeranian that barked at literally everything, should have heard the footsteps approaching, but only began barking after the knocks. He ran out of the door the moment I opened it, but he didn't find anybody either. I know that opening the door to a spirit invites them in. Hence, I believe this is what snowballed the next 2 incidents. Me and my brother were staying up in Michigan with our father only for the summer, just for context. We were sharing the only other bedroom, talking late up into the early morning hours. Suddenly both of us heard a scratching noise circling the entire room's walls. It was much too high to have been our little brother, who was only 5 at the time. It started at the door and circled the entire room. My father, after being awoken and told about this, seconded our theory that the apartment was full of bad vibes. I didn't sleep for another few hours afterwards. The scraping was very clear. Third, but most unbelievable because of how stereotypical it sounds, I had a habit of staying up late even when I'm alone to doom scroll on my new laptop. Again, headphones maxed out. I was sitting in the complete dark at the kitchen table, when all of a sudden, at 3 a.m. on the dot, I heard a loud growling come from underneath the table. The timing of this being why nobody believes me. I think that part was coincidental. Naturally, I ran all the way to the back bedroom to where my brother was and slept on the floor. On the way, I saw Jasper sleeping, so it most certainly wasn't him. My father has since moved out of that apartment. Well, let me tell you, I am glad that your dad moved out of that apartment, because that sounds really bloody scary. And look, we know hearing the 3 knocks is scary, right? But I don't know if that necessarily invited something in. I wonder if your dad's apartment and the 3 knocks were 2 separate things. Like 3 knocks and then hearing scratching noises circling the entire room's walls, your dad feeling like everything was full of bad vibes, and then hearing something growling at you from underneath the table. Those are all really scary things. I did watch a horror film last night. That is this week's film review, and in one bit of it there was something growling under the table and it really made me feel uncomfortable. And this is giving me that same icky feeling. Like I said, I'm glad that your dad is no longer living in that apartment. And I don't feel like it makes your story less believable, by the way, that it happened at 3 o'clock in the morning. Not at all. Maybe it's just one of those weird coincidences that happens. Maybe it was related to the incident. I don't know. But it doesn't make it less believable to me. And story number 3 comes from Bree. I know I left you on a bit of a cliffhanger, and I'd like to clarify. My story was on 31 Days of Terror 2024, day number 8. The tapping on the wall started off as just simple tapping. It was quiet, and as the weeks went by, it got slightly louder. But after watching a scary movie that showed if you gave a pattern to the tapping, it might copy it, my dumbass thought, let's try it. So I tapped the beat, and it copied it ever since. That house had a lot of icky stuff happen in it, like my mom saw a man standing outside under an apple tree. My sister saw a creepy boy on all 4s in the corner of the room. And my mom and sister having the exact same dreams every night. That's when I got the necklace off Etsy. It was sterling silver and my mom suggested I got it so whatever was bothering me might leave me alone. There was nothing spooky about the necklace. I figured it was a cheap mass-produced item. This thing followed me, like I said, to my boyfriend's grandma's house, where it threw remotes at walls, it tormented my boyfriend, and eventually followed us to that farmhouse with his parents. In the end, after we moved into our friend's house and stuff started bothering their young children, we decided to go through all of our things and throw anything that might be old or might possibly have been something that I still had from my parents' house. And the only thing I could think of was my necklace. I threw it away in the garbage can. And a week later, cleaning out my car, I found the necklace in my back seat. I asked everybody that lived in the house, why would they play a joke like that? And none of them said that they did. I threw it away one more time, and finally everything that had been creepy following me for all these years had stopped. I'm not sure how the thing attached to the necklace, considering it was an archangel necklace, and I even had a lady bless me the house and the property when I was living with my parents, and I had the necklace on at the time. Either way, the amount of stories that I could tell you is crazy, but very interesting. I'm about to sleep, and I'd like to think it was that, so I'm going to tell myself it was that. I like telling people the stories because it makes me feel better about all the weird crap that has happened. So 2 things that I would like to say. First of all, Bree, that is what we're here for. We're here for people to get these stories off their chest, to not feel so alone, to say them and go, I know that other people have experienced stuff like this, so I don't feel as weird putting it out there on this forum, and we love you for it. This podcast would not exist without people sharing the weird shit that has happened to them over the years. And also, from experience, I'm just going to say it. I know I say necklace weird, okay? I know. And I said necklace so many times in that story that every time I said it, I was thinking, oh, I can feel the emails rolling in. I know that people say necklace, and I know that I say necklace. I've never said it another way, okay? I've always said necklace. It's like appreciate. I've always said appreciate. Saying appreciate feels weird in my mouth and in my head and in my brain, okay? So I am aware. There is something very frightening about the intelligence of whatever this thing is tapping out the same rhythm back to you. I know, like, these things happen in horror films, so of course in real life you're going to be like, oh fuck it, I'm going to try it and see. I'm just going to see what happens. I think honestly the thing that terrified me most about this story was your sister seeing a boy on all fours in the corner of the room. Oh no, that's not good. And people having the same dreams every night. Stop it. But here's my question for you. If this weird shit was happening before you got the necklace, was it the necklace that was making shit happen? Or, hear me out, kids, was it your intention that made shit go away? So you get this, you have all this weird shit happening. Your mom's seeing the fella under the apple tree. Your sister's seeing the fella in the corner. You've got tapping going on your walls. Weird shit is happening. You get this necklace to protect you, and then weird stuff continues to happen. There's remotes being thrown at walls. There's stuff that's tormenting young children. And you go, we're not putting up with this anymore. So you throw the necklace away, right? Maybe it wasn't the act of throwing the necklace away. Maybe it was the intention behind it, where you were like, this is stopping now. I'm getting rid of this. No more. I know the necklace worming its way back into your car is pretty grim. Like, that's pretty freaky. But you did it. You went, no, we're stopping this. We're getting rid of it. So maybe the power was in you all along and not the necklace. Somebody sign me up to be a paranormal life coach, honestly. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Thank you to Theresa, Natalie and Bree for sending in your stories. Remember, the last story came from October the 8th, 2024. And if you would like to send in your story, you can do so by emailing it to reallifeghoststoriespodcast@gmail.com. You can also check out the website. That is reallifeghoststoriespodcast.com. And if you are desperate for some extra content, you can subscribe to the Patreon. That is patreon.com/reallifeghoststories, where for $5 a month or $2 a month, you get access to heaps of extra content, as well as every single main and mini episode completely ad-free. And on that note, I shall see you next time.
The new Boost Mobile network is offering unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month for life.
That sounds like a threat.
Then how do you think we should say it?
Unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month for the rest of your life?
I don't know.
Until your ultimate demise.
What if we just say forever?
Okay.
$25 a month, forever.
Get unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month with Boost Mobile forever.
After 30 gigabytes, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Unlimited plan.